5 most despicable man-eaters in the world. Everyday news always contains stories of murderers which we've become accustomed to, but nothing could violate our sensibilities more than a horrendous tale of gruesome killing, coupled with mutilation, and ends in an act of cannibalism. These are the stories of savage murderers who find ultimate satisfaction in the most despicable way, by eating their victims' flesh. Number 1. Peter Bryan. English serial killer Peter Bryan's criminal record contains 3 casualties, and he performed his most fiendish act on his second victim, who surprisingly was his friend. Bryan's first target was a 20-year-old shop assistant who he beat to death with a hammer in 1993. Bryan's admission of guilt landed him in a high-security psychiatric hospital in 1994. He was transferred to other psychiatric facilities as mental health social workers noted an improvement in his behavior. In 2004, Bryan was thought not to present any major risks, so he was permitted to leave his ward. For unknown reasons, he went straight to his friend Brian Cherry's house, killed him using a hammer, hacked off both his arms and feet, and fried his brain in butter. "It was nice," Bryan said. He was brought back to a psychiatric hospital where he killed a fellow patient whom he wanted to eat, but unfortunately, he was interrupted. Number 2. Rudy Eugene. The 18-minute surveillance footage capturing the cannibalistic assault of Rudy Eugene against Ronald Popo on the MacArthur Causeway in Miami, Florida, could be the most stomach-churning video recorded in broad daylight. It was an ordinary day on May 26, 2012, except that Eugene's plans of partying during Florida's Urban Beach Week event turned into a one-man flesh-eating feast for the world to see. Out of the blue, a naked Eugene assailed and maimed homeless Popo, whom Eugene, the Causeway cannibal, accused of stealing his Bible. He then removed the old man's trousers and devoured 75% of his clueless prey's face that left Popo completely blind. A Miami police officer arrived and warned Eugene to stop his ferocity, but he just growled at him while biting off parts of Popo's face. The officer then shot Eugene 4 times, killing him, while Popo survived, albeit in critical condition.
Joey, thanks for contributing and helping out. People in my predicament need to be helped out.
Number 3. Stephen Griffiths. Stephen Griffiths, who proudly crafted himself a pseudonym, Crossbow Cannibal, started unleashing his murderous instincts at age 17. In 1987, he served a 3-year sentence for slashing the face of a supermarket manager without provocation. While in custody, Griffiths shaped his mind on becoming a murderer and developed a keen interest in Satanism, terrorism, and knives. 22 years later, in 2009, he actualized this killing spree by targeting sex workers in Bradford, England, who needed to sustain their drug addiction. The successive murders of 3 prostitutes in a span of 1 year became known as the Bradford Murders. Griffiths took his evil desires to an ultimate level, as he didn't only kill his victims using a crossbow and knives, he also dismembered and cannibalized them. He admitted to eating the thighs of a victim and cooking the body parts of the others. In his words, his dreadful human flesh-eating act was part of the magic. Closed-circuit TV footage showing his heinous act led to his arrest in May 2010, and 7 months later, Griffiths was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Number 4. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer's series of revolting crimes committed from 1978 to 1991 is one of the most notoriously celebrated cases. The astounding facts surrounding the Dahmer case are truly fodder for media coverage. He was a serial killer and a sex offender convicted of murder, rape, dismemberment, necrophilia, and cannibalism of 17 male victims within 13 years. His manner of committing the most hideous of his crimes was a work of evil. He lured his victims with alcohol, rendered them unconscious using sleeping pills, drugs, or injecting hydrochloric acid into drilled holes in their skulls. He then performed lascivious acts on their unconscious bodies to satisfy his sexual desires, then strangled them to death. The Milwaukee Monsters subsequently mutilated their bodies, acidified the skulls of his favorite ones while storing other body parts and organs for later consumption. In July 1991, authorities finally caught him when one of his potential victims escaped and reported his crime. While serving 16 terms of life imprisonment, Dahmer was killed in 1994 by a fellow inmate. Number 5. Andre Chikatilo. Who could possibly fathom this line? The victim's cries, the blood, and the agony gave me relaxation and a certain pleasure. Certainly, only a hardened serial killer like Andrei Chikatilo could verbalize such a sadistic thought. Born in Ukraine, Chikatilo was nicknamed Butcher of Rostov, since most of his murders happened in Rostov, a federal subject of Russian Oblast. To be exact, Chikatilo confessed to 56 murders between 1978 to 1990, involving men, women, and children. His first victim was a 9-year-old girl who he strangled and stabbed, raped, and dumped. The previously impotent Chikatilo then realized that violence could bring sexual arousal and orgasm. This became his killing pattern in a 12-year orgy of terror. Perhaps most chilling of all, Chikatilo confessed to chewing on the extracted uteri of his female victims and the testicles of his male victims, then discarding the body parts later. In 1992, his victims were finally served justice when Chikatilo was sentenced to death and executed on February 14, 1994, by a single gunshot behind the right ear. Thanks for watching. Please like and share this video with your friends and subscribe to our channel for your daily dose of voodoo videos.